All right, guys, good morning. We're currently at a job site. We worked on this customer's vehicle. He had a work of Ram that we did an E85 conversion on. Now he asked us to come look at his 6.0 Super Duty. He's got a flashing tow haul light on along with a check engine light. This is a flashing tow haul light that he wants us to diagnose. Majority of the time with these 6.0s is a transmission temp sensor can cause this. And as you can see in that corner, we're not reading any transmission temp. I'm gonna go ahead and scan the codes, see what we find, and go from there. All right, guys, so I went ahead and scanned the codes. I found a transmission temp sensor circuit high, which means that most likely it is either corroded, sensor's bad, or it's not working. So we're gonna go ahead and drive it, see if that reading comes back. If it's a corroded wire, it could change the reading as the wire gets hotter, as the sensor gets, as the temperature gets hotter, sensor changes. If it's a bad sensor, same thing. Or if it's completely open loop, it won't read at all. These are just the primary thing. Plus, you just want to drive the truck to see if there's anything else wrong with it when diagnosing for the customer. I know this is not what they paid us for, but this is what I do different from most mechanics, is that I like to drive the vehicle, make sure that it is up to the standard, that it is safe for the vehicle or for the customer to be driving it. And if there's anything else that I may have noticed, these guys, they drive their vehicles every day, especially for work. And for on construction sites, they may not notice when they get in it, hop it around and move it, they may not notice certain things. So we're gonna go ahead and drive this vehicle, see what's up. It's got 162,000 miles on it right now, which is actually pretty low for this truck. It's I believe it's 2004 or 2005 6.0 diesel. So yeah, let's take it for a drive and see what we find. Okay, so right off the bat, steering wheel's clearly off center. We're gonna let go of the steering wheel. We're gonna see if it pulls. The truck is slow. So we've developed a little bit of a whine. Now we got some temperature in it. You can hear it. Kind of sounds like a power steering. And I noticed that the steering felt a little heavy on this thing. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and park this thing, go underneath, make sure the wires are good. We're gonna probe the wires. Make sure that the sensor in fact is dead before we just tell them it's a sensor and make them spend the money on it. All right, so after a test drive, went ahead and did a under hood inspection. We noticed that the transmission or the engine temp was getting really hot for just driving around the street. Truck got up to 230 degrees. Normally these trucks want to run between 195 to 220. 220 is if you're towing uphill with a trailer. So definitely something going on there. It's not a clutch fan. Even though it sounds like it's kind of weak, it's still moving air. I'm thinking that he either has a clogged radiator or possibly it could be a water pump being just lazy or whatever, or probably missing some fins. Whatever the case is, that's something that was unrelated, but I would mention it to him. Maybe something he wants to take a look at. I would also recommend a new filter because this thing is disgusting and clogged up. Also noticed he had some corrosion at one point on these batteries, which they cleaned up. But on this other battery, I don't think they ever cleaned it up. And in fact, he has some active corrosion right now. He's got minor oil leaks. He's got some oil leaks under the turbo. This radiator shroud looks like he's tied it, but it's been touching the alternator. Belt looks fine, even though they have grooves on it. The belt actually is in good condition. He's got an oil separator, which is nice, or a particulate separator. So I see he has that. Checking for make sure none of those lines are leaking. Don't like how loose everything is, but you know, it's just his truck, I guess. That's how he runs it. Belt tensioner is a little loose on my liking. Would recommend that. As far as anything else goes, not noticing much. He had a fuel line underneath the truck that was leaking. I'm gonna recommend him to replace that. Yeah, it so far looks pretty decent. It's definitely a transmission temp sensor, that's for sure. He's got exposed speaker wire or stereo system wires that really should be get covered up. Same with the wires going through the firewall. Those have no grommets. Those really should have some type of protection. So just a few things we've noticed on it that I'm going to mention to him and go from there. Just like that, we're leaving the job site. Explained what we found to the customer. He's excited that we found the items causing the issue. He's requesting a list for him to go purchase the items from Ford. Once he purchases the items from Ford, we will be back to install everything. And it is a laundry list. So what do you expect out of a 20-year-old truck? Take care of him. We'll get it done. On to the next. All right, guys, we're back at it. Back at the 6.0 Powerstroke. Customer went and got all the parts. So we got a transmission filter from Ford. We got the sensor in here. That's bad. We replaced that. We bought the ATF for it. We bought the transmission pan gasket. Gonna go ahead and replace that so we can get this thing smog since it's got a check engine light. But I'm pretty sure over the last 2 days since he was getting the parts, we have a speculation that he may have popped the head gasket already on this thing. We think it's burning coolant because he says within 2 days it's already burned 2 gallons of water because he's been adding water instead of coolant, and you can smell it. If you open the cap, you can smell diesel exhaust coming out of that thing. So he's pretty much, this motor is already done. So just to see if it'll work, and since he's kind of got no other options at this point, and he's going to be getting a new radiator anyways, we're going to throw some K-Seal in it. Not really, look, I don't recommend it if you have a bad head gasket, but, you know, what does he have to lose? So we'll throw K-Seal in it, see what happens, see if he can make it by for a couple of days until he can afford and line it up to do a head gasket. Because on these things, to do head gaskets, the whole cab has to come off. So anyways, we're gonna get down to the oil pan, take care of the transmission problem so we can get this thing smogged, and then he'll deal with the rest later. All right, so we're gonna start off by draining the transmission so we can take the pan off, go from there. And of course, I'm under here. I get the sizes on all this stuff. These look like 10. Those are 10. So that's good to go. Put that on my ratchet. Awesome. And then that drain looks like a 13 or a ½ inch. So I'm gonna go grab that real quick and come back. Alright, we're back. That's how you drain it. You don't have to drop it in the pan, fish it out with a magnet. You don't have to get it all over your hands. You just boop. So while that drains, we're gonna go ahead and get this pan down. Normally I have a little magnetic tray with me to keep all these bolts. I'm about to go grab that in a second. I also like to use, for transmission pans and oil pans, I like to use a 1/4 inch drive, and there's a reason for that. It gives you less torque, so if the bolt is corroded or rusted, it's less likely for you to heave on it and break it with a 1/4 inch drive than if you were to say use a 3/8 drive, and that just prevents you from causing a bigger headache down the road. If that bolt's stuck, chances are majority of the time you put a little bit of heat on it, it'll come right off. So using a 1/4 inch is the way to go for stuff like this. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this pan off, and I'm not gonna bore you guys with the excitement of me pulling a pan off. So we'll show you guys when the pan's coming off. All right, so we got the last few bolts off. I'm gonna go ahead and take this pan completely off now. Look at that, look at all that oil. I'm trying to remember how much these things hold. I think they hold something like 8 quarts of oil, or a stupid number of oil, or quarts of oil. These transmissions on these trucks are massive. A lot of people don't realize these actually, these Ford transmissions, they're actually pretty stout transmissions once you spend a good deal of money on getting them turned up and upgraded with clutches and shit. Just gonna dump all this oil out of here. Okay. She still wanted to drain. Let's see how much we got in this thing.
Oh yeah, we got a little bit of fluid. That's all right. Can dump the rest. There it is. Just trying to reduce the amount of mess I make, that's all. Put the pan over here for now. On a piece of cardboard. There's the gasket. Take the gasket off. That's another thing too. Mechanics love gaskets like these. There's little to no cleanup needed. Silicone, it seals good, but most of the time it's just a pain in the ass to deal with silicone, cleaning it up. So we're gonna get some rags. I'm gonna clean up a little bit of this drippage here so it can contain this mess a little bit. Clean up my work area, get my bolts situated, get them organized. And then we'll go ahead and come back in here and get that sensor out, put the new sensor in. Got all my bolts in a nice little magnetic tray. Make sure I don't lose any of them. Someone had already put an aftermarket bolt in one of the pan gasket bolts. Looks like they lost one, so they went in and put one in, which is good because normally people just run around with a missing bolt. So you can tell this customer cares about his vehicle. Or the shop that he went to previously, even though they may have lost it, you know, stuff happens. At least they went ahead and replaced it with another bolt. So right now all I'm doing is just trying to take up a little bit of all this excess oil. Now these cloths that I'm using, they're cheap cloths. They leave a lot of fibers behind, so I'm not trying to smear it, I'm just trying to dab it to get as much of the oil off, because the fibers will be left behind and that stuff will clog up a brand new filter. So we're going to make sure we don't do any of that stuff while we're just using it to dab it up and basically just soak up that oil, because these, even though these ones suck with the fiber, they're actually really good at soaking up fluids, and that's why I use them. So there you go, that filter's already on its way out. A couple taps. Just already want to start loosening up on me. I'm gonna push this guy further back just so it can catch some oil, because it's gonna puke right now. Come on. Just trying to be gentle with it so I don't. There it is. There you go. Oh yeah. Yeah, anytime you guys are doing a transmission service, get the filter, replace it. When you go to put it back in, just make sure you got the old O-ring out of there. Like for instance, this one, you can see the O-ring stayed inside the housing, didn't come off with the actual filter, so you got to pull that out with the pick. And a lot of people don't realize that these I know there's a lot of speculations about these new filters or new ATF transmissions and stuff like that, their life, you know, you run it for their life. That's not necessarily true. Depending on your driving, you really should change the ATF a lot more often than not. For instance, if this is a diesel truck and you do a lot of excessive towing, I would say about every 30,000 miles you should change out the ATF and the filters. It just helps the transmission stay alive. If your truck is 90,000, 80,000 miles and you haven't changed any of the filters and you've driven it hard, well, at that point the damage is already done. So drain the fluid. Yeah, it could cause a little bit of slippage, but let's be honest, people get that misconstrued all the time. They're like, oh, it was great until I changed the fluid. No, it was already damaged. Your fluid was just acting as a little cushion basically. So take care of your stuff, bottom line. Just make sure you're on top of your maintenance. That's how you get these things to last longer. Automatic transmissions are always going to be a wear item, no matter how much they're built. They're just like a clutch, just like a stick shift car has a clutch. It's a wear item, just like brakes. It's a wear item, so something has to give. So the longer you can keep it alive, the better it is on your pocket, better it is on your investment. Less likely you'll be on the side of the road stranded. All right. Now we got this thing cleaned up. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this camera. We're gonna get in there and I'm gonna show you what the transmission temp sensor is and how we're gonna fix that. And yes, I look like a dork because I wear safety glasses underneath these things because I've had too much shit in my eyes and I'm not trying to go into the ER tonight. So down here, let's get to that. So this sensor is gonna be tucked away on this side right here of the valve body. So I'm gonna have to move this filter or move this drain pan over and get on that side and get it out. It's gonna be a messy job, so I don't know how much of it I'm gonna be able to capture for you guys, but we'll go from there. So this is interesting to note. I just pulled the sensor out. It's a little bit of a tricky sensor. You gotta clock it, slowly walk it out. Factory sensor is gray. This is the black one. So I'm wondering if this truck had this problem and someone put an aftermarket one in there. And that would explain why one of the pan bolts are missing and they have to replace them. I wonder if someone pulled this out, put an aftermarket one in there, and it just didn't last, or it's just junk. Aftermarket sensors are never the way to go for a factory setup. If you're running a factory truck, run factory sensors. You can do part cross-reference. For instance, Chevy uses AC Delco. So getting AC Delco is the same thing as getting equivalent of Chevy parts. Toyota, same thing. They use Denzel. So anything Denzel for Toyota Lexuses, Subarus, or sorry, not Subarus. Well, some Subarus, but also Scion. You can use AC Delco parts, save you a little bit of cash instead of going and buying Toyota name brand shit. It's the same thing, it's just rebranded. Toyota doesn't make all those parts. Same with Ford, they don't make all the parts. They just get a parts house to make it for them, like a parts manufacturer, and then they'll put their name on it and call it theirs. So the clip, I'm gonna see if I can get it out with just my hands. If not, I'm gonna go get a pick. I got it out. Don't want to break that. If you break this clip, there's nothing holding this thing onto the sensor. And there you go, that's the sensor. Make sure the O-ring's still on it, which it is. And that little guy is causing all the problems. Get rid of that thing. Get our brand new one from Toyota, I'm sorry, I'm a Toyota guy. From Ford. We got a brand new sensor, and we're gonna go ahead and install that sensor right now. Take a little bit of oil. This oil looks really clean, which is good. Probably another indication that someone was already in here at one point, because of how clean this fluid looks. This fluid looks like it barely even has 1,000 miles on it, if that. Pop that sensor in. There we go. Try not to get it inside the actual connector. Clean off this connector. Gonna go ahead and pop this guy on. There it is, there's a click. All right, our job here is done. Make sure to pull that O-ring out from the filter and pop in the new filter, put the new oil pan gasket on, and button her up, start filling her with fluid. All right, so if you got an opportunity to pull a pan off, you should always inspect it. And take all the old parts out of here, old gasket. Put that here. And take the customer's paperwork out of here for his records so it doesn't get ruined. All this stuff in here. Grab a quart of oil, throw it on that so it don't fly away. Cool. Oil filter. Yeah, see, this fluid's pretty clean, man. So someone was, you can see that filter is, that's fairly new. Someone was just in this transmission not too long ago, but I wouldn't know that until I open it, so that's why I told them just get new parts. It's okay. Filters are easy, they're cheap. It's a good insurance. So all this crap that's in here, all these little small particulates, matters, the magnet. Look at this, all that. See what I was talking about? All that's clutch material. That's normal. You're gonna have a little bit of wear. It's normal, high mileage truck. For a diesel, this thing's been babied. It's only got about 120,000 or 130,000 on it, I believe. But see all that? Just want to wipe all this off. Just get all that crap off of it. Make sure you got a nice clean pan.
so it can the magnet can do its job in catching more of that particulate. All right, now the pan's nice and clean. When I cleaned up all the edges, I used a little high-speed Chingus to clean it up with a Scotch-Brite disc. Gonna go ahead, and now that I wiped it with that rag, same rag that I was using underneath, just a new one. Now this fibers, they get in everything, so we're gonna spray this all down with brake cleaner before we install it, so none of that fibers go into our brand new filter and clog it up. I don't know if you can see that. There's all the fibers right there. See that? This is why I spray down. Look at that. It's like gel. All that stuff. That would go in your filters. You don't want that there. There we go, nice and cool. Now that that's nice and clean in there, we're gonna go ahead and slap that on and button her up, fill it up with oil, go for a test drive. All right, pan's in, all the bolts are tightened, all of them have tamper guard on them. You know, the drain plug. This job is done. Let's put some oil in it, go drive it, see what it does. All right, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I don't care. Anyways, I'm here to help my customers. And sometimes in the real world, this is what you do. That's why products like this exist. So this is probably one of the better ones that I have found to have worked. So we're gonna try this and see if it works for him. At this point, like I said, this customer has nothing to lose. He already needs a new radiator. He's got a blown head gasket. This is just to buy him time. So we're gonna go ahead and open this guy on up. And yes, I am using a dipstick to open it because that's what you do in the real world, guys. Sometimes my tools aren't close enough to me. The big snap-on tool that I spent way too much money on is not close to me. Anyways, here you go. It's all open. And dump this down in here. Don't ask me how this shit seals head gaskets but doesn't clog radiators. I have no clue. It just works. And that's it. Yummy, yummy. Oh yeah. Yuck. Yeah, somehow that shit works. I don't know how, but it does. Had to use it on another customer's truck. He insisted he wanted to try it. We tried it. It's been going on 6 months. Hasn't called me back for a head gasket yet, so. Also, if you ever notice that there's different color of coolant, there's a reason for that. Every manufacturer uses a different spec of coolant. You can switch a whole system over to something else. I've done Toyota coolant is what I like to use. It seems to be the best, in my opinion, next to the Chrysler stuff. But yeah, just basically, if you're gonna run coolant, they make it really easy for you. Just match the colors. If it's red, get red. If it's pink, get pink. They specify it on the bottles. Don't mix them. If you're in a pinch, you can mix it, but it's best to not run on it mixed. All right, so I'm gonna fill it up with some ATF right now and time lapse that, and then we'll get in there, start it up, let the coolant system run now that we added 2 cans of stop leak, and see what happens. right, here we are, test drive. Roll up this window. Doing a test drive, no check engine lights. Everything's reading good, temperatures are good. Let this thing idle for about an hour to get up to temperature because it was cold. About 195 is when the thermostat opens on this guy, so we wanted to make sure it gets to 195 so that K-seal that we added goes ahead and goes into the motor and does what it's supposed to do. It's magical crap, I have no clue, but we'll figure it out. Hopefully it works. It's not like we're gonna hurt anything from trying. So transmission temperature's reading now. You see that in that corner right there is beautiful. No more flashing lights. Everything looks good. Truck feels good. We also did a power steering flush. He had a blown up power steering pump, and the person who put it on just changed the pump, never flushed the lines, never flushed the cooler, so all that dirty oil was still in there. A lot of contaminants. Now we have power steering again. He has some spare ATF, so we put some ATF in that. You can run ATF for power steering. I highly recommend it. It's a great alternative to power steering fluid. It can take more temperatures, higher temperatures without fading. It has anti-foaming agents already built in, and it's a cleaning detergent-based oil, so it helps clean it too and keep it running a lot longer. So definitely recommend running ATF through power steering if you're not already. We're gonna go on a quick test drive, put a couple miles on this girl, and make sure she's running good before we hand her back to the customer and hand him the bill. All right, guys, we're back in the truck. We're about to leave this job site. Truck drove perfect. Everything was operating like it's supposed to. Customer's happy with it. He knows that the head gasket is blown. He knows the head gasket fix in the can is not a permanent thing. It may not even work. He's just willing to try it. So we went ahead and told him just keep an eye on the temperatures, baby the thing around, make sure you're watching the coolant level. Don't overheat it. Don't let it run without coolant. So he's well aware of that. He's just gonna go ahead and baby it as much as he can, get the thing smogged. He's got to drive it to clear the monitors. He'll smog it. Once he smogs it, he'll then call us back out for the head gasket, or use a local friend shop that we know for them to do the head gasket if we're too busy. So anyways, done with this one, on to the next.